was there, but it didn't seem like we knew, the students didn't know who the alumni were. The students knew who each other were from the classes they'd taken, but the community was class-centric. It would begin in a specific class, something like theory of change, which is what's on that screen, and then really developed during theory of change, and students would be giving all kinds of their experiences, sharing information, providing resources, and all that stuff. And then when the semester ended, the community would end too. And it wouldn't entirely end. You always have those students that then they get into the next class and they say, "Oh, Joe, it's good to see you," or "Hey, Sally, wow, it's nice to have another class with you." But it was class specific, and that's where it would stay. So that's where I started with. And then about 3 years ago, I had a student, Tahani Adil-Samani, and she came from Saudi Arabia, and she was very interested in English language learning and instructional technology and how that would add to English instruction. And so she came to campus, and she kept on talking about these barriers she was running into. And there were all kinds of barriers. Some of them were based on media portrayals of Muslim individuals. And so we'd have students that would think that she was a jihadist or something, and they wouldn't talk to her. And she noticed that. Or just access to what is acceptable in a culture. She had a hard time finding resources that would help her know, well, what do you expect when you go to a football game? What are you supposed to look like when you go shopping? She hadn't been exposed to that. And she stumbled across Second Life, and she really, really enjoyed it because she said, when I'm in Second Life, it's like I'm a whole different person. No one shies away from me based on what I'm wearing. I can ask these questions. I can ask, what I want to know about American culture, and I get answers, and they're immediate answers, and I can go there when I need them, and there's someone I can find that's there. And so we started focusing on that a little bit and saying, well, okay, how can we replicate some of this stuff? How can we promote these environments where people will come together and just share information? And how do we develop those over time? So the things that I'm going to talk about today, I in no way have found the answer to this question. I have some ideas. I have some stuff that we've been doing that has led to some positive outcomes, but hasn't led to this utopia of, hey, we have this fantastic community. But that's what I wanted to talk a little bit about. So in the course of Tani's program of study and in some of the research I've done with community formation with Doris Balgner and some others in the College of Education, we stumbled upon a work by Ray Oldenburg, a sociologist, called The Great Good Place. I don't know if any of you have heard of that, but it was written in 1989, and essentially Ray Oldenburg, he starts bemoaning to some extent American suburbia. He says, we have this idea of American dream, and we all own property, we have this house, and we put stuff in this house, but we don't know anyone. We don't know who our neighbor is. We don't know anyone in the community, really. We go to a movie or we go out to dinner, but it's not with our neighbors, it's with total strangers, and we don't really talk to them that much. We just kind of sit there. And he juxtaposed that with what he saw in Europe, where they have all these corner cafes or pubs, and people would just hang out there after work, and they got to know each other, and there was a real sense of belonging that he just didn't see in the United States. And so Tahani and I would talk about some of this stuff, and we'd say, that really parallels some of the stuff that we see in online class, and it's stuff you've heard about. Online classes are isolating. Online classes, you feel like you're the only student there. You feel like you're physically, not only are you physically distant from the instructor and from other students, but miscommunication arises, or my expectations of an instructor aren't presented accurately or well, and so these students think they have to do all kinds of stuff, when in reality I'm looking for a small thing or something. And Moore talks about that with transactional distance, where he says, okay, this idea of perceived distance in a classroom or in an online setting is based really on 3 variables. So one of them is non-dialogue. What is the extent of dialogue in that space? One of them is based on the structure of the class, and one was based on autonomy. And so according to Moore, if you have more dialogue between students and students, between the student and the instructor, then there's this perception of less distance. The distance is lesser because you're actually communicating with each other. You know what's going on or whatever. But as communication wanes, then all of a sudden there's this wonder of, well, what's going on here? Where am I? Am I doing things right? Is this what the instructor wants? Is this what needs to happen? The same thing happens with structure, you would say. So there's more structure in the class, then it's easier for students to understand what they need to do. And so this feeling of distance is reduced as well. I know exactly what I have to do. I have to complete module 1, and that includes doing these posts, doing these readings, taking this quiz, and then I can go on from there. And then so on the flip side of that, as you have less structure, then students have more autonomy, but then they begin to wonder, well, am I going in the right direction? Is this where I need to be? And so it can create this feeling of distance as well. And so we were looking at this and we were saying, wow, do we have this kind of suburbia idea from Oldenburg in our own classes where we have, some structure, we have some guidance on how to get through this program, we have this sequence of events that they need to go through to take these classes, and then they graduate, and they're going to be fantastic, but they don't know anyone. They don't know the person next to them, which could be a huge part of their professional network, which could be a huge part of their identity, and it would help our program as well, because then they could come back and say, hey, I'm now working in this design firm. We need someone who has an expertise in this system. Do you have any students that would like an internship? Boy, we'd love to have that kind of stuff. And so, according to Oldenburg, a third place is this public location that's physical, where local residents gather and they converse with each other. That is the idea behind it. And so it's separate from the first or second place, which you would call a home or a business, because the home, there's a lot of work that has to take place for you to host individuals. At least if it's like my house, I have 3 kids. They make a mess. I'll be honest, I make a mess too. so if I want people over to get to know them, there's a lot of work that I have involved, and it's my place. So essentially, it would be me making the rules, and anyone I invite kind of has to, live by what I want them to live by while they're in that place. Same thing with business. There's only certain things you can say or can't say in a business setting. There's always someone or the thought of someone that's looking over your shoulder, making sure you're falling into line. And so for Oldenburg, this idea of third place really has 8 characteristics. First of all, it's inclusive. It's available to whomever. It doesn't matter if you're the mayor of the city or if you are the sanitation engineer or whatever. You can go there and you can communicate, just like those settings, the cafe setting. There's a space for everyone. It's on neutral ground. You don't have to worry about showing up there and taking charge. You can come at any time. You can leave at any time. There's no real need for you to stick around or to host or to manage that place. And the next thing is it's accessible. It's available to everyone wherever they are. And it doesn't draw attention to itself. And he said this was key. So if you go to a movie theater, the point is to go and watch the movie. You try to forget the people around you as you immerse yourself in that movie. He said that's not a third place. The third place is where you come and the focus is on conversation. And so he says it's not even many restaurants because either the lighting's too low or the music's too loud, and so it's hard to really have a good conversation. But it's a place where it doesn't draw attention to itself, where it allows people to focus on each other, get to know each other. And so then it's conversation-based, and it's established with regulars. There's people there, they come, they invite other people, they welcome them in, internet, right? People come, they get a cup of coffee, and they sit and converse and find out, well, what's going on? What kind of work do you do? What do you do after you go to work? That kind of stuff. Um, Another one could be story time in the library. You have caregivers or parents, and they bring their children there to read a book, and while the librarian is reading the book, they can sit on the outskirts and converse and talk. And it's usually the same group of people that comes every week, and so over time, you really get to know about who these people are. Churches could be third places as well, that kind of stuff. But after a while, they started, researchers started looking at, well, how do we put these in online settings? What does the third place look like online? And they talk about MUDs and chat rooms and things like that, and how they can allow people to get together and converse, and so forth. And I think obviously the most obvious version, at least in my mind, would be Facebook, where you have millions and millions of people there, and it doesn't matter who you are. You can get this account, you can post information, you can friend people, and you can even try to friend movie stars or whomever, and maybe you'll get to talk to them, maybe you'll just talk to their publicity person, who knows, but they allow you to to friend them. It's welcoming, it's inclusive, is the idea. But what they don't tell you is, how do you create these spaces, particularly if you want one in an educational setting. When Oldenburg talked about third places, he actually said that third places, they aren't entirely inclusive. If you think about a bar, not everyone can go into a bar. You have to be able to drink to go into a bar. Yet it still met third place conditions because it was inclusive of those people who met the requirements. And so we thought, okay, here we are at the University of Wyoming, and we also have this program, and we don't want to just allow everyone into this place because that would be chaotic. But we want it to be a place where people can come and congregate, particularly in our program, and just talk about what they want to do professionally, talk about what they want to, where they want to be, what they're doing for research, what they're reading recently, if they want to hike the other day, where they went, and if it was fun or not, that kind of stuff. And so we were interested in the building of these places, and we were encouraged to some extent because these examples that Oldenburg was giving didn't always begin as third places. If you think about a bar, the idea behind a bar is not just to have people come and congregate. There's a guy who owns the place or someone who owns the place, and that person needs to sell product in order to stay in business. Same with Starbucks. If they don't sell coffee, there goes the third place. And so if you think about the start of some of those places, or at least what we envision as the start of those places, it was someone who just said, hey, I need to survive in life. Gee, I can make a good cup of coffee. I'm going to start doing that and sell it. And so we want people to come in and buy the coffee. And then eventually, and bookstores know this pretty well, they said, wait a sec, if people stay longer, they buy more coffee. Maybe we aren't, maybe we should let them stay. Let's invite them to be here for a while. Let's invite them to hang out. And so as they hung out, all of a sudden the shift or the focus of the space changed a little bit. It's not just a place to get coffee. It's a place to talk. Yeah, sure, there's still that get coffee thing in there. And that still is the ultimate goal, at least for the owner of the store. But for the customers, it's changed. It's not just a place to buy coffee. This is a place to hang out. How can we do that? Same principle. Harvard, students at Harvard developed this site. It's kind of a joke. Who's the most popular? Who looks the geekiest? And over time, as they opened it up, it became something different, and something that would attract people. And so because I'm in instructional design, I'm a designer by nature, I thought, okay, well, we can go about this in some very systematic processes. And one of the ways to first do this is to look at a front-end analysis. Who are the stakeholders involved with what we want to do? And why do we want them to be at this place? Why do we want them to be conversing? What do we want them to be doing to do this? What resources do we have available? Do we have a space that would work for this? Do we have to look at other spaces? What are our needs? What are our goals? That kind of stuff. We're not going to focus too much on that. But that's what we were thinking. so we actually had two different projects that we started around the same time associated with this. One of my students was interested in getting Saudi students to learn more about American culture, and American students to learn more about Saudi culture. And she wanted to figure out how can I facilitate this kind of communication in Second Life. And then as a program, we were thinking, okay, we have alumni, we have faculty, we have students, we have prospective students. How do we get them talking? How do we get them communicating so that our first year students know what to expect when they take their preliminary exams? Because we have hundreds of students that have taken preliminary exams in the past. Or how do we get students to move beyond the course kind of banter and really start talking about what they want to do, or what really moves them, or what great hike they went on, or where they're going on vacation next year, so that they become more than a student and become a colleague and a partner. And so on that note, I need to play with this. I'm going to share about 2 minutes of a video that Tani put together about her rationale for creating a place that would hopefully meet some of these characteristics of third place for Saudi and American individuals.
This video is a brief overview of my graduation project, in which I give an example of using the virtual environment Second Life educational setting. The idea of this project stemmed from a personal experience using Second Life and learning, and I was really interested in learning about the American culture before and after coming to the United States, and my purpose was to improve my linguistic and cultural competence while interacting with Americans. What attracted me most to Second Life is the sense of others' presence, the easiness of meeting people from different places and cultures, simulations of real-life environments, and the disguised identity stimulates free and open discussions on culture. As I found the experience very beneficial, I was really interested in replicating it with Saudi English language learners, as they reported challenges in having regular interaction with Americans, and they mentioned that the only way they have meaningful discussions on cultures is through campus activities or formal occasions. They reported that this shortage decelerated the acculturation process and caused loss of embarrassment in social occasions. Therefore, I designed a place in Second Life and named it the Cultural Cafe to provide Saudis with a space to interact with individuals who authentically represent the culture of the West in the U.S. I furnished the place with the traditional Saudi furniture and artifacts. I also included a video display screen, slideshow board, which all helped in supporting participants in their discussions. I designed 4 sessions. One was introductory and 3 were for cultural discussions. The sessions included discussions around themes related to holidays, food, custom, and family life, etc. The participants also had virtual field trips that navigated through different culturally representative places. The experience of cross-cultural interaction was successful, as participants and freeway of presentation, expression, and interaction. Now I'll conclude with a video recording of a place that takes up the Second Life to serve learners' needs for cross-cultural interaction.
So I'm going to let this continue to play. What happens is she just goes into the site, but what she decided to do was purchase just a building or a room in a building. And she wanted to focus on conversation. She wanted to get these students to really just share ideas. And so she made it as minimalistic, well, not necessarily minimalistic, but she made it inviting around what looked like a conversation area. She set up the room so that it mirrored a traditional Saudi tea arrangement. And she had objects that looked like a Saudi tea house in there, and different cushions and whatever. And so individuals could come in and sit and just talk. And she actually had volunteers in the community that would come in and act as the American culture. And then she invited people from the Muslim Center on campus and different friends as well to come in and interact. And so they came in for, I think they actually came in 5 times. And noticed is they came in, they didn't know how to, how to interact with each other, and it was kind of awkward, and they didn't really want to share a lot and whatever. And so she had to do a lot of facilitating. Hey, come on, try to pick topics that were heated. But as time went on, it became really interesting. The Saudi students started inviting other people to attend as well, and those people really enjoyed it. And so they kept on coming, and they'd ask, "Hey, can I bring a friend, or can I do this?" Which was what we had hoped. But then the project ended. That's where it was at that point. And so from that experience, we were able to look at some stuff, and then similarly. Let's see, I'm gonna skip that for a second. So similarly, around the same time as a department, we put up a professional studies won't interrupt the flow of a course, but we'll get them to know. And so we said, when we're designing this place, we have to focus on three things: the space itself, the users of that space, and then also the activities that they do. How do we help develop this space so that the users, so that the space itself, and so the activities mirror more closely this third place that we wanted? I'm running out of time, so I'm gonna have to go quick through this. And so we said, this happens through iterative cycles. It doesn't just appear, just like Facebook, just like the coffee shops. And so we said, okay, if you start with mandated membership, then what you're doing is you're getting users to that place, and you'll get them there. You can do that as a faculty. That's where we have the hierarchy and the power and whatever, for better or for worse. But it doesn't make a lasting space. So how do we then change it so that they don't need that hierarchy, so they don't need that mandate? Well, it needs to be interesting enough where they can explore. Second Life had that kind of built in. It's a 3D virtual world with all kinds of stuff anywhere, and you can teleport them to, camel rides or whatever, and then they can continue to explore that on their own. Ning as a site, there's no way it had that. And so we had to start thinking, well, what are some of the activities that we're going to run that will help them gain this interest? Maybe we can encourage people to post photos over the weekend. Maybe we can get them to do kind of game-like activities and competitions where all of a sudden they're competing with each other, or they're seeing what other people post. Who went to the neatest place over the weekend? Who has the best sunrise in the morning from their backyard? Who can find this random photo? I took it on a vacation last summer. Who knows where it is? To get them interested, to get them engaged, but to get them talking. And so it's not just students talking about a class, it's students engaging in the lives of other students and making connections, hopefully extending those connections. And so with that then, in this space, you can look at how to change that tone so it's not faculty members hosting the site, but so that it's students coming up with ideas and saying, oh yeah, that was an interesting site. I have a terrible sunset, but let me show you what's 5 miles from my house. I guarantee this picture is going to blow away anything else you have, or something like that. So then they take more control of the situation. They start bringing up their own ideas, and transforming the space so it's not just a teacher-directed or program-directed place. So we started doing that. I'm going to skip a lot of this because we're running out of time. But one of the things that we focused on were the users themselves. And we had this idea that when students, particularly graduate students in my line of work, when they enter the program, they enter as a student. But if they leave the program as a student, we've done them a huge disservice. We want them to leave as a colleague. We want them to leave as a co-collaborator, as a friend. And so we wanted the same thing in this place. How can we get students to realize they aren't just here going to the university, that they're part of something much bigger, that they're part of a community, they're part of a network that continues to grow, and we learn from them as they learn from us. And we said, well, we can start telling them this earlier. We can start saying, hey, get involved with these things. And then when they go to this site and interact with other people, when they see a faculty member there, they don't have to worry about, oh no, what is this faculty member, going to think if I'm posting whatever. They can just move forward. And so we're doing that. I want to skip ahead a bit. This shows some of the groups we've had. Some of them are based on courses. Some of them are just open, that we try to get people interested in topics that maybe go beyond the course or beyond the scope of the course, but not beyond the scope of the program. What are interesting things that professionals are dealing with? How do they deal with these things? Why do they deal with these things? What kind of events can you do to learn more information, that kind of stuff? And then what kind of games can you incorporate in this to get them there? Now remember, Ray Oldenburg said that the space shouldn't draw attention to itself. But then if you look at the places where people congregate, games are often a part of that. You find chess in the park. You find Farmville and I don't know if that's social or not, or Words with Friends or whatever in Facebook. And it gets people there talking, and it gets people there sharing. And so that's what we're working on. And through those cycles, we've seen that things that start out very hierarchical, very top-driven, can change into something that is a lot more social, a lot more egalitarian, and a lot more accessible and natural. So that's what we're working on, and I'm out of time. So any questions? Yeah, so the question was, do people have access to these spaces after the courses and after the program? Yeah, they do. That was our intent, because otherwise it would die again with that course. What we want is spaces that people have access to even beyond the university. The sad story is the Ning site we were using, they've messed up our billing for 3 years in a row. And so we eventually said this year, this isn't feasible. We need to move this space. And so we're looking at actually WYO Courses to hold it as a group site, with the idea that even if WYO Courses is no longer used at the university, we'll just export it and upload it into the free version online. But that is the main important thing, is making sure they have continued access beyond the program. So anything else? Right.